So we are at Project Pritchard, and the reason I highlight the name is because we've just completed the renovation on this one. It was bought originally for £69,000 as a 2-bed property in South Wales. It's now a 3-bed property. We've obviously added the bedroom upstairs, and we'll show you that in a second. So the Rav, who's the investor for this one, he lives in London. He works in finance. He's only in his early 20s, but he's a really good lad. And essentially, I'm going to show you the numbers on the project, the spec that we've just finished on now after completing a 33k renovation. Also, we've just had the valuation in yesterday, and there was a big problem with it. So I'm going to highlight that in about 2 minutes on this video. So I'll show you the spec of it. I'll show you the finish we've got, the numbers, and a really, really important lesson this one highlighted because of a massive a pretty hefty down valuation we had, which I'll go into details shortly and how to rectify that more importantly. So anyway, here's the kitchen. So like I said, bought for £69,000. We've just completed the 33k renovation. Was a 2-bed. We put new. The kitchen, ironically, is one of the few areas we haven't done much work. So almost everything else apart from the kitchen has been touched. So we've changed the flooring in here. We've done the actual tabletop. So we've got the counters been done. We've put new tiling on. So it's honestly, I mean, a lot of the cupboards and everything, this is all original. These were all original. We haven't had to change it. This highlights to me to tell you guys, if you don't need to change things for the exit. So when you're buying a property as an investment, as this is a BRR, buy, renovate, refinance investment. If there's certain things that already are good enough within that property, don't spend money for the sake of spending money. You don't need to make this your home. You need to make it safe, practical, and worth what the exit is. So we expected, for context, this to be worth £125,000. Now we've added the 3rd bedroom and done a refurb on it. However, there's certain bits like this we didn't need to change because they're already good enough. I don't know if you can see on the camera, but they're actually, the cupboard doors are good. The actual cupboards themselves are good. The cooker stayed the same. We've just changed the counter on it. We've changed the flooring. We've got brand new electric spotlights in. We've painted throughout. We put tiles on. So we've done kind of half of it. But I'll keep this going now. We've got a new internal doors as well. Radiators are still the same, but we got the TRVs on them. But I'll keep this going on in terms of like breaking down the project and what we've actually done. However, the point of this snippet, this piece of video, is the fact that you don't need to change things for the sake of changing them. Don't spend money on refurbs for the sake of doing it. Factor in your exit, what you're trying to achieve, and have that within your budget. But let's keep it going. I'm going to do a super quick snippet on the bathroom. Brand new bathroom, bathtub in here, got a toilet in there, which you can't really see on the angle, but I'll show you in a second. New tile. This is one of our most common great specs for buy-to-lets. And this is going to be a buy-to-let on the back end, by the way, under standard single-let tenancy situation. So in terms of all this, it's our go-to color situation. So black on white, so white tiles, black finish. It's our most common. It looks great. It fits the end value, fits the end finish. And we absolutely love it. I'll show you a little bit of a snippet in terms of exactly what this looks like with a walk around, but you'll see that everything we have done factors in the rental demand we expect on the back end, the rental figure, gross income, and we're going to chart, and it's also the GDV. So there's 2 factors in with the property. We're doing this work to make sure it's structurally sound and to make sure the work we're doing reflects the GDV we expect to hit and the rental income in the area, because every area you operate in, every property in the location has a ceiling cap, whether it's X amount of rental, X amount of property value. A 3-bed in this area is only going to go so high, has a ceiling price, so the refurb reflects that. So just to factor that in. But I'll show you the rest of this, but you'll see that the finish we've gone for reflects the exit, the end value we need it to hit. So here is the bathroom, just for a quick turnaround. Here's the toilet. You can see the tiles, the good finish. We've got a tile radiator, nice window, tiling, yada, yada, yada. The only reason the lights are not on, guys, before anyone questions that, is because the electric's run out today. So we're going to top that up in about 2 seconds. So just bad timing. And here's a living room. So you got new flooring, we've plastered, painted. There was actually some damp on this wall, so I'm going to turn the camera around in a second to show you where the damp on the wall was. A lot of the expense of this refurb was on the windows. So we've changed quite a few of the windows here. And windows are very expensive. They're probably around about £700 per window, depending on the size of the window. That's South Wales prices, by the way, before any builders attack me for that. So if you factor that in, if you've got 7 or so windows, that's a heavy price. So I'd say around about 6 to 7k this refurb of the 33k was purely for windows, which is heavy. But the longevity in the back end, the warranty of the windows, the quality of them is going to be so much better, and the EPC is going to be improved as well. So the energy efficiency. So the EPC is the energy efficiency of a property. I can't even talk. The energy efficiency. We want to hit a C rating on the back end, which is obviously what we've achieved here. So an EPC is based upon a point system. So as long as you've got enough good quality windows that are double glazed, plastic PVC, then you've got your insulation in the attic, you've got your TRVs, the thermostatic radiator valves on the radiators, you've got LED lighting, you've got all these things. You've got obviously your installation of the property itself, the rendering, make sure the rendering is all good. All these things which help the energy efficiency. And the way that the EPC guy that I talked to does it is, if you've got heat within a house, how easily does it escape the property? Simple as that. So make sure to get a C rating on your EPCs, guys, and that's that. Also, you can do solar panels and more rendering or stuff if you want, but they cost a lot of money. So factor in your budgets to your EPCs. So anyway, back to the refurb before I completely ramble on. So we've had a full new rewire. So we've got brand new electrics in. We got brand new LED lighting in. We've got, obviously the flooring is good quality carpet. We do dark carpets because it means that you don't have to, if you got people walking on them, it doesn't show up marks, etc. We use white colors throughout the property for the painting, simply because it looks bigger, fresher, brighter, and more inviting. Simple as that. It just looks better, and we love that because you got a nice welcome opening home that you spent 30k on or 33 grand on a refurb on. You want to make it nice. So yeah, again, everything here is based upon longevity, making sure that any works required has a long-term mindset. It's all well and good doing the kitchen and bathroom and whatnot, but if you're not fixing any damp works, resolving issues like that, you're really not making sure the property's got longevity there. So that if you were to spend money today, you don't want to be spending money for the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years, like every year essentially. You want to spend money today, have it looked after, bish bash bosh, set and forget. Doesn't always work like that, but generally that's the rule of thumb. Spend money today, rectify what's there, have a good quality home that you actually want to look after your tenants with buy and hold, with buy to lets, and then go from there. We want to be good landlords, guys. We want to have good intentions. This is the other part of the living room now. It's quite a large house, very good sized house, hence why we could add the other bedroom, which I'll show you shortly. This is a brand new window. In fact, you've got a brand new window over there, over here. There's a couple upstairs as well. A lot of the windows have been changed, which is very good. And you can see how nice they are, how clear they are, happy days. But yeah, they're very expensive, especially large windows. So we factor that into costs. One thing that we always do, because we're a portfolio building company, like I've got the portfolio builder company, I've got my own portfolio, etc. But whenever we present, when we work with investors who want to build your portfolios with properties like this, we factor these costs in at the start to make sure the exit's factored in. What I mean by that is when we find a house like this, Pritchard, as a 2-bed, we want to make it a 3-bed, but also if we've got 6 grand worth of windows to factor into the cost, it's all about factoring your costs at the beginning to make sure your net ROI, your return on investment, is realistic. So if you're putting, like this investor now, £120,000 to buy, renovate this house, all costs included, like all factored in, then you want to make sure that you've got your full refurb factored in with windows, kitchen, bathroom, everything, all your costs factored in to make sure your return on investment at the back end is actually accurate, because the whole point of doing these is a return on investment. At the end of the day, as an investor, you want to get an ROI. And there's 2 ROIs to property with buy-to-lets like this. It's cash flow, net cash flow, which is an important distinction. You just don't want to have gross income, you want to have net cash flow, and you want to have appreciating equity. So if you're putting money in to this property, refinancing after renovation, that's 1 ROI in the first year, and then you're going to have that appreciate over time. That's why these have such a healthy return on investment, because you're doing it for cash flow, but you don't primarily build buy-to-let portfolios for cash flow. Cash flow is a sub-benefit. You want to build it for equity that's going to appreciate in the right location, with the right spec, with the right location as much as anything, and have the right conditions to appreciate. The cash flow is the added benefit. A lot of people get into property for cash flow. I'm sorry, but it's appreciation that's the main benefit of these. That's why property is a long-term investment, or it should be. People who have a short-term mindset of property almost always go wrong. Hate to be negative, but I hear it every day and I talk to a lot of investors. So have long-term mindsets with these. They will, even if the government doesn't like us, even with the new renters rules coming in, the renters reform coming in and all that kind of stuff, even that won't deter true investors. I'm buying about 7 houses right now, just like this. I'm being more aggressive than ever because a lot of investors and owners and vendors are backing at the market because out of fear. When people get scared, that's an opportunity. Simple as that, as an investor. So I'm attacking it more than ever right now because a lot of people are selling up and just want to get out because they're scared of it. That's an opportunity to get more better investments. Anyway, that's my speech on that. So factor your refurbs into your budgets. Let's go upstairs before I ramble on forever. Again, the lights are off, so apologies for it being really dark, but all I want to point out here is we've got a brand new fuse board, we've got a brand new rewire, so we've got a brand new fuse board installed. Every electrical fuse board needs to be tested every 5 years, so we've obviously got it tested now because it's newly installed, so that's going to last at least 5 years. So all the brand new copper wiring throughout is all good. We've also, above the camera, which I can't show you because of the camera is by there, is hardwired smoke alarm. So when you're doing in Wales, buy-to-lets, you need to have a hardwired smoke alarm on the ground and, well, on every floor. Most of our properties are 2 floors, ground and first, so therefore we're going to have one on the ground, one on the first floor. You get the point. So that's all good. So yeah, hardwired smoke's important. You can't have them battery operated, it's the main point. You can have battery operated CO alarms next to a boiler because that's carbon monoxide and that's different. However, smoke alarms need to legally be hardwired into the Z fuse board. So what I'm going to do, guys, is kind of do a bit of a walkthrough this way because it's easy to underappreciate how cool it can be to add bedrooms. So when we first got here, this was a very different layout. So I'm going to put a video link in the description to this video on what it was like pre-refurb, so you can see what it was like as a 2-bed. And you'll see now how we've literally created partition walls, said wall, to actually, well, make it a 3-bed. And the good thing is we've got good bedroom sizes. I'm going to go through this damp patch by here shortly as well for you guys, but I just want to show you the layout of how we actually increase the number of bedrooms on said property by creating walls by here and then creating walls by here. See how beautiful it looks. So obviously this is the first and largest bedroom without a doubt. I'll be honest with you though, it's 3 very good sizes. One thing that definitely stands out to me with adding bedrooms is the concern is if you're adding a bedroom, you don't want to add a bedroom to squeeze it in. If you think about it, the whole point of adding a bedroom is to add value to property. If you've got 2 large bedrooms and then you'd add in a 3rd one onto that and you chop them 1.5, you've got to be careful not to have 2 tiny bedrooms and a large room. You get the logic with that, right? So don't add rooms for the sake of doing them. Make sure the floor plan and layout is big enough and practical enough to be practical for a tenant, because at the end of the day you want to provide a good home for a tenant to be in. And if they got box rooms, it's less appealing, the rent can't be charged the same, you get the return investment gets affected, you get the point. So again, to have good intentions with it. So again, new flooring has been put in, plastered, painting, new internal doors. These are both brand new windows, you can't really see them, but brand new windows for the EPC side to it and longevity, and they got warranty on them because they're officially certified, so that's all good. Bedrooms are very, very simple. You got a radiator, you got electrics, you got flooring, doors, carpet, painting, and that. So I just realized I also forgot to mention about the damp downstairs. So in the living room, there was a portion of the wall that had damp coming in. So what we did, we hacked it off, did the internal rendering, well, external rendering and internal insulation on the inside, rectify the issue, get it insulated again, get it painted, get it plastered and painted, and then go from there. The point I'm making is that even though I butchered that explanation, the investor from London hasn't had to do anything. So the way they operate and the way that we operate, that they're working with us, is they have a capital of £120,000. Most investors have about 200k, but that investor had £120,000. They reached out to us. They said, look, I want to build a portfolio in South Wales where the buying is so much cheaper. In London, it's 400k plus. In South Wales, it's 100 Like this one was bought for like a 69k, right? Most of our properties are bought between about 50 grand to about 80k. We do a refurb on them, we refinance them for the increased value. Very, very simple, right? So when you go into Bath, Bristol, Cardiff, London, all these expensive places, Cornwall, we have a lot of clients in Cornwall at the moment as well. The buy-in for the properties is so high that it's an absolute ball ache for them to even be able to afford to buy, and the yield, which yield is cash flow or indicates cash flow, the yield is so low, so therefore like London, nobody does buy to let in London anymore because there's no cash flow and doesn't even appreciate that well. Whereas in South Wales, we're expecting appreciation factors to be over 15 to 20% next 5 years. So invest in locations that expect growth. Again, the main benefit of buy-to-lets is appreciation, because if you can get 20 grand worth of equity, which is what we saw for clients on these properties, and it's going to appreciate by 20% over every 5 years, not set in stone, but as a rule of thumb, that's a lot of extra wealth that can be built over 5, 10, 15 years from doing nothing and having cash flow in the background. That's how you build this. Imagine having 10 of these. Like, buy-to-let only works at scale, guys. Like, the reason I buy about 10 houses myself a year, like buy about 7 to 10 a year myself, buy-to-lets only work on scale. A lot of people want to get cash flow and all that, but then only have like X amount budget. You have to buy a multiple to really scale it. That's not to scare people, because if you've got a budget of 50 grand, you can buy a straightforward buy-to-let. However, you want to figure out how to scale it aggressively to do that. So whenever people book on calls with us, it's one thing to be like, okay, I want to build a portfolio, but what are your goals? Where do you want to get in 5 years? Like, what do you actually want the income to be effectively so that you can actually have this grow to fulfill your life? The whole point of having a portfolio is either to pass on to kids, to give you financial freedom in your own life. There's certain benefactors of this. It's important to be aware of those at the beginning so you know what the goal is of all this. Again, I'm going to ramble on forever, so I'm sorry, guys. But it's what I hear, talk to a lot of investors, and it's genuinely just to be, a lot of this video content is just to be clear on what the goal is with people. So just be really mindful of that. So you can do all these, but what is the goal of doing it? Have a think about that, guys. And then if you want to work with us, book in a call, link in the description. But anyway, I keep rambling on forever, I'm sorry. So you got the flooring, carpets, painting, I'll show you the other bedrooms, I'll show you the boiler. So bedroom number 2, of course, again, lovely single room, really like the size of it. Brand new window, we've boxed in the boiler. So boiler, we've got Ideal, which is the brand, by the way. Good quality boiler, very happy with that, all good. Again, the whole point of doing this is to spend money now, get things rectified so the person can set and forget. Not set and forget, but you get what I'm trying to say. Spending money now to not have to do it later. So new flooring, brand new electrics, new LED lighting, new tunnel doors, happy days. Yeah, I gotta say, like, we do probably about 100 projects a year, and really they're almost always the same, and that's why I like it so much, because this is very predictable. I think even this month we did probably like 8 to 10 new projects, and all of them you got the same dark carpets, you got the same white walls, and that's a really good thing. If you've got something that you can scale aggressively and have the same rinse and repeat method, LED lighting, get your CC rating, we've got the build team to cover all this as well. In fact, I've got a build team that covers my projects and the clients' projects. The clients being investors we work with to help build their portfolio. Same principle. And it makes life so much easier because they know exactly the finish we go for, they know the radiators we go for, the TRVs we go for, and you see how almost every room is very, very much the same, apart from the size of them. So just to note that, guys, everything is about simplicity of property, because property can get very complicated if you make it. I see a lot of people I talk to who are trying to do HMOs, flips, buy-to-lets, SA, all these things at the same time, and they never actually do anything. Like, the people I see the most successful do one thing aggressively. One thing being one strategy being buy-to-let, SA, HMOs, flips. They do one thing aggressively because you're trying to build a business off this. That's why a lot of people, for tax reasons, are buying into limited companies, because it's tax efficient, but you're also literally building a business that's going to cash flow you. And one thing that people also mess up on is they try to do buy-to-let or buy and hold and flips in the same company. You have to keep them separate for tax reasons. Otherwise your accountant will have a go at you. Believe me, talk from experience. So literally get told off twice a month because of that. Anyway, so yeah, long story short, my advice to anyone watching this is, besides this project, is to really focus. If you want to do property, think about what your goals are, or if you're not too sure, have a call with us so we can identify what your goals are and actually figure out what you actually want from this. Number two, once you find out what your goals are, work backwards, and then the property strategy that can fulfill that is what's going to help you. There's no point in doing buy-to-lets, for example, if you want to be making £5,000 a month within a year, because in fact, the only thing that's going to really do that is flips, but then you have no appreciation factors. If you're going to be doing HMOs, you need a lot more capital, house multiple occupation, by the way, a lot more capital, and you're going to be leaving in a lot more money, and there's a lot of high risk. And I genuinely believe HMOs are going to die out in the next 5 years. I think that people will seem for high cash flow, but with HMOs, you only really make, in theory, your actual net profits, your net profits off the past, I think maybe like 15-20% of occupancy from tenant point of view. So, and these are rough numbers, just in my experience. This is why I hear a lot of developers, investors always go back to buy-to-lets. Like they do all these commercial things, they do all these HMOs, they do all these SA, and everyone reverts back to buy-to-lets because buy-to-lets will always be needed. People always need homes. The only thing stopping us from being able to do buy-to-lets in the future is probably the banks that are buying houses themselves to rent out anyway. So anyway, I'm going on a complete tangent in this video. This is meant to be a short and sweet video, but apologies. So anyway, so you got all the stuff here, got internal doors, got electrics. I'll show the last room and I'll show you the mess up that we actually did in this one that was out of our control, but I'll show you anyway. So bedroom number 3, and apologies for being so long in this video. I literally meant to be like an 8-minute fire through and I've completely rambled. Anyway, so I've indicated this for a reason. So completed the refurb on this one, 33k refurb 3 days ago. It's currently the end of November 2025, if anyone needs to check in on that. And we had the valuation in 2 days ago. Completed the refurb, cleaned it all up, got the valuation in, expecting a 125 GDV. We had a 105 end value come in, a 105 valuation. The reason that sucks is because like I said at the start of the video, the whole point of doing these projects, yes, you get cash flow, but a big part of it is making sure that when you increase the property's value, you can then get the valuation you need on the back end, because the whole model is reliant on getting the valuation on the back end. And valuations are based upon comparable data in said area within the past 12 months that are sold that is like for like to that property. So if you've got 3 beds in this area, which we have, that have sold for over £120,000, you'd expect this to be worth over £120,000, if not 125 on the back end. However, we didn't get that. The main thing of this point I'm making is that it's not a negative. It's how you approach it. So a big part of all this is we've got investors who are investing from London, Scotland, America. We got Dubai at the moment. We've got Netherlands, America. We've got international clients. The point I'm making is that people are remote. People are far away, and they have a WhatsApp group with us. They see their money going in. They do the refurb, and then on the back end they get the valuation to hopefully get a mortgage, 75% loan to value to pay them back. However, if they get down valuation, they're obviously able to lend less, because the property's being valued at less, and then they get less more, they get less back. I can't even talk anymore. The point I'm making is that I talked to a client earlier from London. Naturally, he's panicking. He's be like, okay, what crap, I've lost all this money. A lot of the reason for us being here as a portfolio building service is genuinely from the experience point of view on how to approach things, because the valuation, I didn't even flinch at it. He had 105 come in, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, what's the solution, right? So you kind of sat there thinking, okay, I see this a lot. We had a valuation last week, we had a valuation this week, we had one that was bang on last week, we had one that was down this week. It's very normal. And at the end of the day, a valuation, just to give you some context, is literally, you get a mortgage lender come in, obviously, with a mortgage, it's a long-term loan. So therefore, a lender is going to be giving you the money for the mortgage. So what the lender does is they have a valuation panel. They have a selection of lenders they work with, valuers they work with. They get the valuer to visit the property and give what they believe the value to be, hence the valuation. On their report is going to be whatever they see it fit. So they've obviously downvalued this one. So basically what I'm saying is we had a lender who wasn't right for the type of project that we need to do. So the solution to this is that we're going to get a new lender to get a new valuer from a different lender's valuer company, surveyor's company, to come out and value the property, because we have so much data on this that to justify the 120 to 125 GDV that we know it to be worth as a 3-bed. You see the beautiful finish, the carpets, walls, LED lighting. However, it's important to be solution focused with these, and I've done this for nearly a decade and I know how it works, and it's genuinely a big part of the reason people work with us is genuinely to get things right. And more importantly, when things go wrong, which they do, whether it's a refurb, valuation, conveyancing, things go wrong all the time in property, it's rectifying the issue that's the most important thing. And it's probably 75% of the reason people work with us, because we know we have the built-in, we know we have the brokers, solicitors and everything, but rectifying issues when they arise is going to reduce the risk of the investment, it's going to reduce the risk financially and the stress of the investor. I spent a good 10 minutes last night calming down the investor. He was a really nice lad. Honestly, I can't wait to work with him. But he said how frustrated he is, not at us, but genuinely at the expectation of getting the value and it being downvalued. It's normal. You had expectations, it didn't come in, get it. The most important thing for me is to sit down and be, okay, solution, get a new lender in, get a new valuer in, get it rectified, get the return on investment to be what we need it to be and what we know it to be based upon the data that we have. So that's the very long-winded way of saying being solution focused. And if you're not, work with someone like us who can actually deliver these for you to make sure when things go wrong, like having damp on a wall. And again, this is going to get rectified. We've literally sorted the ceiling tiles out to make sure this is all sorted. So this will be dry within a day. However, sorting things out like this, problems, down valuations, is vital. And it's most of the reason we're here. So literally, he came up with us with X amount of capital, wants to build a portfolio remotely. You need a reliable team. And one thing I hear a lot, just to ramble on again, is people talk about whether they want to invest in South Wales, the Northeast, Northwest. It's not the location that benefits, because all of them are kind of similar. If you invest in cheap areas, we got low buy-ins, high yield, so low buy-ins less than 100k, high cash flow where you're making £300 net off a buy-to-let, which is quite good if you scale it. It's the team that can deliver that's important. Now we do over 100 projects a year, do probably nearly 12 a month, which is probably over 100 a year, but you get the point. We do a lot of projects. So we have the team to facilitate it. So if you want to get involved in projects like this, check the descriptions of the video and book in a call with us and we'll have a chat, just so we can identify what your goals are, what your situation is, what you're looking to grow, how you're looking to grow it, does the model fit you? And therefore, if it does, then we get things going and go from there. But we've got to make sure it's a good fit for you and also make sure that we can help you, essentially. I literally started all these companies to help people. And that's my absolute ramble today, guys. Hope anyone is probably watching, even if they're probably not anymore, because I've absolutely gone on a tangent. But yes, if no one sees any videos from me until now, Christmas, have a great Christmas, even though I do one every single week. I do a lot of videos I do a project every single week, by the way, on these projects, because we've got so many on the go. My next video will be on a rundown property, so you'll see what these ones are like, but then also what they are at the very beginning, because we started 2 refurbs last week. So I'll document all this, but if you want to work with us, reach out. For context on capital to invest, a lot of people reach out who have got like 50k or something. You can absolutely work with us with 50k, by the way. You don't have to just be deterred by that. You don't have to have 100k plus. If you've got at least 30k is probably bare minimum to work with us to be able to grow with these. However, if you've got more, merrier. Like a lot of our clients have about 500k right now and they want to scale this aggressively because they want to do multiple at the same time. Different conversation for another day. However, hope everyone has a great day. Subscribe and like. Peace.